So welcome everyone to Advaita Vedanta Satsang House. The current session is that is ongoing is Advaita Aparokshanubhuti, and we are going through the fifth class. As a follow-up, we have pinned two links. One link is pinned up on the top, and another one in the chat. And these are with reference to texts one can access. The one that is in the chat is just a Sanskrit text, and it's written by the scholar Vidyaranya. It's all in Sanskrit. The one pinned up is something that you can use because it has word-to-word translation. If you want to just follow through, but there's no actual commentary. So it is a fresh interpretation, or it is a Bindoji's interpretation of Aparokshanubhuti. So this is the fifth session. So the other four, if you want to catch up, there are replays available on Clubhouse, or you can go to YouTube channel, which you can access once the chat is active after Bindoji session. So the chat and the hand raising are turned off and the session is on. And after the session, so it's about an hour or so, and then we'll open both the chats and the hand raising, and you can come up and ask questions. And Bindoji will be here till about 10 IST. It's another half an hour. Over to you, Bindoji. Pranam. Thank you.
Thank you, Prakash. Namaste Atmisha, Prasad, and welcome all. We'll continue with your Aparokshanubhuti text. What has been completed is up to 4th verse, 5th onwards. We will start today. Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartribhyo Vamsha Rishibhyo Mahatbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Garunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loga Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutravashikritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Guru Ratniji Murtiveda Vivagine Vyomavatyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Sri Harim Paramanandam Upadeshtaramishwaram Vyapakam Sarvalokanam Karanam Tam Namamyaham. So, in the last class, we completed the 4th sloka. Brahmadis Tavarandeshu Vairāgyam Vishayeshvanahu Yathaiva Kakavishtāyam Vairāgyam Tadhi Nirmalam. So we discussed about the vairāgya, how it is to be pure vairāgya. Now we will go to the next one, what is called the viveka of the sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. Nityamatma swarupam hi drishyam tad viparidakam evam yo nischaya samyak viveko vastu na savai. Atma swarupam, the Atman, the nature of Atman or Atman as it is. He indeed or affirmatively or verily nityam, that is the only thing which is permanent. The nature of Atma or the Atman itself, because there is no difference between Swarupa and the nature of Atma is not different from Atma itself. So that is verily the nityam, permanent thing. Drishyam, what is being seen, tad viparidakam. Viparidakam means viparidam gamishyati yad, tad viparidakam. What is going against nityam or what is opposed to the eternity or the permanency is drishyam. Drishyam here, the word drishyam means whatever is perceived. Even though the word drishyam is used for as a gauna prayoga or a secondary usage, we have to include it in all the sorts of perception. Drik is the seer. Drishyam is the seen. So whatever is seen keeps changing. Therefore, they are all viparidam. Evam yah samyak. One who yaha evam samyak nischayah. One who samyak means well or settled or extremely affirmative. Nischayah means conviction. Savai vastuna viveka. Neya is to be added. Savai means that is to be, again vai is similar to the he in the first one. Here vai is used, is verily or truly, indeed. Vastunaha viveka. Viveka is discrimination. Discrimination of things. Everything included. So if you look at Vimuktananda's English translation, he says Atman in itself. Here Atman is indicated by the word drik, the one who is seer, or the one who is having the knowledge of the perception. That alone is permanent. The seen, whatever is seen as objects or perceived, is opposed to the permanency, that is mean transient in nature. Such a settled conviction or such a firm conviction is truly known as discrimination. Now, if we look at it at the commentary from Vidyaranya, he is also just giving similar thing only. Idanim vairāgya karanam vivekam lakshayati. Nityam iti. Vai prasiddham yaha saha vastunaha padarthasya vivekaha vivechana visheshaha jneyaha saha ke ityaha ityataha aha evam iti ya evam prakarena samyak samshayadi shunyaha nischayah evam kadam ityata aha nityam iti hi iti vidvat anubhava prasiddham atmaswarupam nityam avinasi abhadyam satyam ityarthaha. So let us break it up, the sentences. What is it says? The idani means now, vairāgya karanam is viveka. This was explained in the last verse. Vairāgya was taken up first, even though the standard definition is viveka vairāgya. But here we are transposing viveka and vairāgya between the two. So, vairāgyasya karanam vivekam. Iti krutva, the cause for viveka, vairāgya is viveka. Lakshayati, that is being indicated here. Viveka is nityamiti. Viveka is nityamiti. Vivekam nityamiti lakshayati. Prasiddham, that viveka is prasiddham. Here we have to understand that we are not talking about ordinary knowledge. In our understanding or in our perception or in our knowing, there are two aspects of it. One is the content of knowledge and the knowledge without any qualification. And when we can bifurcate that, any experience or any knowledge, there is a content which is giving rise to the experience or the knowledge, and the knowledge itself, which even without the content is available with us, but there also, without the content, we cannot even bring back that knowledge as memory or things like that. So what happens is that when we have perception, we bring up from our memory our past knowledge, which of a similar or a dissimilar comparison, which is available with us as memory. That time, again, the knowledge is coming to us, but the content may not be in the perception of our sense organs or the mind, but the content of that knowledge that time is also brought back from the memory, which is how the knowledge is there happening in our mental faculty. Here that viveka is not talking about just that knowledge alone, that what is internal in our mental faculty. We have to bifurcate between the two. There is one thing which is called the knowing aspect of it, without the content, and when it coupled with the content, it becomes information or knowledge or experience with us. So what is the content here we are talking about? Saha vastunaha padarthasya vivekaha. Padarthasya viveka means the knowledge of the objects. See, again here, the vivechana visheshaha neyaha is the word used. Vivechana vishesha. There are two types of vivechana that has to be taken into consideration here. Vivechana means discrimination or separation. What are the two types of vivechana we are asking here, David Singh? One is the content, the padartha, vastunaha vivekana. That is, when I am knowing a bird, when I am knowing a tree, when I am knowing an animal, the vastu or the content, padartha vishesha or padartha viveka, that is changing. But even when these things are changing, there is an aspect of knowing in which the contents will change. The knowing is not changing. That vivechana visheshaha, but we cannot see that knowing with our sensory or mental perception. That knowing aspect itself is what is later being referred as Vidvat Anubhav Prasiddham Atma Swarupam. That is the what we are. So that is the one which is to be known. The word known is here used as a intended meaning, but not as a literally word. You should not take it as it is something which can be known through the mind. Sahake ityasaha evam iti evam prakarena. In what way? Samyak samshayadi shunyaha nischyaha. Samyak means well defined or clear, or samshayadi shunyam. Here samshayadi shunyam is avidya shunyam. Ajnana samshaya vivargya. Samshayadi means samshaya, etc. Shunyaha means without. Without having any ignorance, doubt, or wrong conception or wrong knowledge about, well, crystal clear knowledge. Nischyaha means conviction. Katam, how is this? Ityataha aha. Nityam iti. Here, the problem which will happen to us is nityam is a term which is related to time, and time is changing, never constant. So what is nityam in relation to time is, in spite of the change of time from our childhood to the adulthood, etc., or from locations, different locations, or to different day and night, whatever may be the methodology of taking time into consideration, there is an aspect of knowing in spite of the contents of the knowing changes. So we had knowledge or experiences happening from childhood till now. Each one of them had contents. Space is this time and location, and the contents or our physical nature, everything has been undergoing change. But there is an aspect of knowing which, in spite of the changing which are taking place, has not undergone a change in us itself. That is what is here referred as nityam. So iti nityam, but what is that reference of the affirmation, the word he in the sloka? Vidyaranya Swami is saying that vidvat anubhava prasiddham. Vidvat, vidwan means the known, the jnani, or the knower of Brahman or knower of Atman. For them, they don't have to do anything. They know what is that. So vidvat prasiddham means well known to the jnanis, or those who have understood what is Atman. And what is that vidvat prasiddham? Vidvat anubhava prasiddham. The word is that the vidvat anubhava prasiddham. Anubhava means experiential. In their experiences, it is well known to them. That means, how do they experience is also hidden in this word, vidvat anubhava prasiddham. While we are all enamored by the content and the quality adjectives and qualifications, likes, dislikes, wants, etc. All those things are the ones which are of interest to us. So for us, these things are keep changing. That is why our likes, dislikes, hatred, love, wants, and etc. are changing. Because we are padartha vishesha. We are enamored by the quality of the contents of the knowledge. Whereas Vidvat Anubhava is what? They are also having experience. In the experience, they are able to bifurcate and identify the eternal nature of knowing, in which the contents are keeping on changing. They are also knowing the same thing. They are also knowing the contents. But even when the contents are being known, they are able to identify the knowing principle in every experience or every knowledge, and what is ephemeral or the changing nature of the contents and the qualities, adjectives, etc. So here, Vidvat Anubhava Prasiddham, the Vidwan, for them, Anubhava, experience, Prasiddham means well known to them. What is that? Atma Swarupam, their own nature, or the nature of Atma. Both ways you can take the meaning. What is that? Nityam, Avinashi, Abhadyam, Satyam. Now there are 4 words. Each one of them have got similar meanings, but they are indicating different aspects of it. Nityam is the first one. Satyam is the last one. So we learned that Satyajnanam Anandam Brahma, there Satyam is referred is that Yadna Vyavijarati, Tat Satyam. That which doesn't undergo any change is Satyam. So what is Nityam then? The substratum where the changes are happening, or that knowledge or the content or that aspect of knowledge in which, with which, both ways, not only in it, but with which we are able to know the changes. So we are not only knowing the nityatvam of the knowledge aspect, but we are also knowing the satyatvam of that aspect. How do we do that? When we are analyzing the experiences or the knowing with the different contents, when I said we can bifurcate it into 2 aspects of, one is the knowledge aspect and the other is the content aspect. The knowledge aspect from childhood till date has not undergone any change. My knowledge of knowing the world, the parents, the society, all those things, their parents have become aged, society has undergone change, the world has changed, but my knowledge of the world in which the world shines, or that knowledge with which the world is known, that is not going through any change, because that is continuing to be the same. That is why we feel the continuity. Our continuity is not on the objects or in the day or in the time or the objects. They are all changing with respect to space and time. What is the nityatvam we are expecting yesterday and today, the continuity, etc., what we are doing, is because of this aspect of nityatvam of the knowledge. And the same knowledge never had any elevated knowledge or a decreased knowledge. I'm not talking about memory. Please understand that. Memory also has got knowledge and content aspect. So the nityatvam and satyatvam, or the nature of nitya or nature of satyam, if you analyze it, there is a eternity aspect of it and no what you call decrease or increase or any changes which can be felt or experienced. So nityam and satyam are explained. Now the other two words are avinashi and avadyam. Avinashi, nasha. Opposite of nasha is avinashi. This knowledge, did it extinguish or die down? The contents have changed. Even when the contents were not there in my deep sleep, the absence of knowledge is still a knowledge. That's why we say, I knew nothing. It is not at the mind, because mind also was there. If the mind had been there, then it would have been waking or dream. The mind was not there. So when it says avinashi, even in deep sleep, it did not get destroyed or become zero. Shunya, it has never become. Because we all of us say that I knew nothing in the deep sleep. That is our experience. Experience means knowledge or knowing. There is no content to it. So avinashi means it is not that it is never destroyed. Therefore, it has no birth also. Only if it had destroyed, then it has to come back again. No? What has come back is the world of waker or a dreamer. That contents have been changing, and in the changing of the contents, I am attributing the changeless nature of my knowing of those objects. Therefore, I feel there is a continuity. Now, the last word is abadya. Getting affected by something is called bada. Like, the water appearing to be blue due to the sky being blue, the water is not blue. It is colorless, but we feel it is blue water. So the sky has affected the color of the water. Same way, if it is a muddy water, the dirt particles inside the water has changed its color. So we see a dirty, muddy water. Like that, anything can get affected by the proximity to something. The presence of something in it or by the proximity of it, it can get affected. That is called bada. Abhadyam means that which will not get affected under any circumstances. This knowledge aspect of mind went from the childhood with the waker, dream and deep sleep undergoing every day. It has millions and millions of contents which have been coming in and going in it. The millions of contents coming and going, my mind has reacted to like wants, dislikes, hatred, etc. All of them have happened in the mind where the knowledge is supposed to be taking place. But when I bifurcate between the two, between the content and the knowing aspect, that aspect of knowledge, in spite of million things from childhood till this very moment, have come in contact with it and had been inside it, or it shined it remained unaffected. Like the sun, which is shining everything, but the sun doesn't get dirtied, whether it is shining in the sewage water, ocean, or in the pure ice water, or a snow drops, snow where the water is, icicles which are coming, or the vegetation, the things that are happening on the earth, moon, Saturn, or Mercury, Venus, any of those things. So many things are going around the sun. But the sunlight, the nature of the sun's shining has never undergone any effect of these planets rotating around it. So abhadyam is something like that. Same way, this shining self-effulgent Atma, in spite of having come in contact with millions of things in the lifetime, has never gone through any change or never get affected by that. Therefore, Vidyat Anubhava Prasiddham means it is this aspect what the jnanis, or the one who have realized, is identifying with that Atma Swarupa. They know that is their Swarupa. Because other than that, there is no other thing which they can say, I am that. Because I have not gone, the very idea I also have not gone through any change. Not the ego I. I'm talking about the knower, the drik, or the knower aspect, or the seer aspect, has not undergone any change. So, in the Brihadaranya Upanishad, Yajnavalkya tells to Maitreyi, Avinashi va are iyam atma. Iti shrutehe. Drishyam anatmaswarupam taddi vipiridakam tadatmaswarupam tasmat vipiridatvena gacchati prapnoti vyavahara bhutam iti vyavahara bhumim iti tada vidham avinashi bhadyamityartah. So that the Upanishadic statement, Avinashi va are iyam atma, from the Are Maitreyi, I am Atma, iyam Atma, Avinashi va are. This Atma is indeed imperishable. What is commonly perceived as the self, like, the body, mind, the physical, the body-mind complex, is contrary to that true self. Because when we look at the knowing aspect, in the knowing aspect is my body-mind complex that has undergone change from childhood till now. But the seer of that changes, or the knower of that changes, has not undergone any change. Hence, what is being perceived as the self is opposite to what comes and goes, or transactional reality. Therefore, such a thing is impermanent. What is comes and goes is impermanent. And therefore subject to what is called, some of them are subject to destruction and negation. Badhyam means negation. And that is not ultimately real. Yes, satyam na vivijarati. So we know that the only thing which has perceived by us as ourself, which is the body-mind complex, that has undergone the change. So how can we say that the body-mind complex is the self, or I am so and so, I am so and so, all those things? Even though when we are transacting with the world outside, even a jnani who transacts with the world outside, the transactions will continue. But the knowledge between the two, the jnani and ajnani, is one is having the viveka and the other is not having the viveka. The viveka to know the Atmaswarupam as nityam, avinashi, abhadyam, satyam is the vidvat anubhava prasiddham. Whereas the aviveki, or the one who is not a jnani, for him, he thinks his body-mind complex, which is ever-changing, transient, impermanent nature, which gets affected by the, it can be, it has got parts, it can be dismembered, all the things are there. And that is considered as I am that. So the very, very idea that I am that I am so and so, when touching our chest, he'll say that I am so and so. We raise our hand saying that, I am here. As if by raising the hand you are showing that your physical body is here. So that is the difference between a viveki and aviveki. So viveka, you have to understand this very clearly from these aspects. Atram idam anumanam api suchitam bhavati. Atmaswarupam nityam drishtatvat yanna nityam tanna drishta yada gadadi kevala vedireki hetu. Tada anatmaswarupam anityam drishyatvat yanna nityam tanna drishyam yada atmaswarupam swarupam ityayam api kevala vedireki hetu. Now here we are talking about a typical Nyaya language, kevala vedireki hetu, which means purely negative concomitants. The inference, it's the process of inference by negative concomitants. The nature of self, Atma Swarupa, is eternal, nitya. The inference is it is nitya because it is drishtatvad. And whatever is not eternal cannot be the seer, like a pot. Now, a typical way in which the terms which we have to understand in an anumanam is, there are two ways which we can do. Both are being given here. Both are the Kevala Vetireki, it is being given here. I think in the Saturday's class, Jataveda is taking the, what you call, Tarka Sangraha. This will be dealt in detail in the study there. But it is the Nyaya Vaisheshika school which has proposed this one, and it is part of that. But it is used by Advaitin also for the inference purpose. Because inference is accepted as one of the, what you call, pramana, means of knowledge for understanding. So here the means of knowledge is that there are 4 things in a inference which is used. Pratiknya, Hetu, Vyapti and Upama. In a Kevala Vyatireki, the Hetu, okay, let me explain this thing. Pratiknya means proposition. Atman is Nitya is a statement, Pratiknya, or a eternal statement that is Atman is eternal. Hetu means reason. What is the reason given why for Atma is Nitya? There is a reason. Because it is drashta, means it is the seer or the witness. It is the one who is seeing it. The one who is seeing has not undergone any change. What is seen has gone through. Vyapti is universal relationship. That is what is the statement made. Yad drishtam tanna what is that? Nityam drishtatvat yanna nityam tanna drishta. Tatna drishta. So that is the statement actually in Sanskrit. Here what does it say? That because whatever is not eternal is not a seer, and the example is Ghadadivat, like a pot. Now the same thing is applicable for the non-self also. Anatma is Anitya, means whatever is not Atma, whatever other than Atma is Anitya, means impermanent, ephemeral. The Hetu or the reason is that because they are drishya, they are being object of perception. The objects are keeping on changing, therefore they are anitya. What is the vyapti? Whatever is impermanent cannot be the subject or knower, like the cells. Here, because drishyatvad, because they are all seen as object. So because of being drishya, it can never be the self or the nature of viveka is helping us. This differentiation or discrimination between nitya and anitya in our experiences is what is being referred here as the second sampatti or the qualification for studying Advaita. Vairāgya and viveka. This viveka, which I have been explaining for the last 45 minutes, is to discriminate the knowledge aspect of every experience. The contents or drishya or the seen is not the one who sees it. So, drit drishya viveka when we talk about it, or nitya nitya vastu viveka when we talk about it, both the places, the methodology is the same. We have to know this in every experience. That is why in Upanishad it mentioned that pratibodhititam matam amrutatva hi vindate. Amrutatva means eternity. You will be able to identify yourself as eternal, not a mere human being who is bound to be born and dead. If you identify with your physical body, you are not that. Your mind, where the knowledge is taking place, is also part of that process of birth and death. But that aspect of the mind, which is the Atma Swarupa, which do not depend upon the Nama Rupa, which is changing in nature. Because whatever is the content of the knowing is depending upon the words, etc. But the knowledge which is happening in our mind, you have to dissect it as the knowledge aspect and the content aspect. And the knowledge aspect, when you remove the content, means when you remove the words and dependencies on the words and the forms, etc., that mind itself becomes the Atma. It is not that anymore identified with the ego or the individual. It is present with us even before this body was born. That aspect of the knowledge. But there was nothing to be known, because even before the appearances came into existence, what was the reality was the knowledge. Now let us ask example. Assume, I am taking only this sloka today because it's a very important sloka. Even when we are seeing the snake in the rope, or pot and the mud, ornaments and gold, every word, the knowledge of the rope, the knowledge has not gone the change to become the snake. The appearance of the snake in the knowledge of the rope, because we didn't have the knowledge, ajnana, of the rope, there, due to the presence of Sat, there is an existence aspect of it, knowledge aspect of it, but we do not know what it is. So, the absence of the description and the content detail, we know there is something. But what it is, the details, the dependency on the word and the form, the word rope, since it had the similar shape, form of the snake, the word rope was replaced by snake. But the knowledge in which it was happening had never undergone any change. That is why we are able to see the rope when we were told that it is not a snake, it is a rope. The rope was able to be seen. Had the knowledge been different, we would not have been able to see the differences, or the same thing as what is being seen as the snake is no more a snake but as a rope, which I saw the shape but I did not know the name. I did not understand the qualification of that shape, though I assumed the snake. Same is the case with the mirage and the water. Same everywhere you can see. And same is the case with the world, our experiential world. The contents of the world are changing, keeping on changing. What moon and sun I am seeing is not the same sun and the moon. In the solar orbit or the solar space, it has moved so many places, locations. So I cannot locate it to the same place and say it is the same thing. No. But I have a feeling that it is the same thing. Same way, when I wake up and see the world of objects, where I am become the experiencer of the objects, the knowledge aspect is continuing in me. In spite of the things have changed in the world, since I have not undergone any change, I feel there is a continuity on the objects, on the things which I am experiencing. So I feel I have come to the same house, same room, same class, same people, everywhere. But everybody has undergone change. Everything has undergone this thing. But the knowledge in which it is happening has not undergone any change. So we feel that we superimpose the changelessness of the knowledge to the changing world and say that we are seeing the same people, we are seeing the same world. This aspect is what is we need to be very, very, very closely analyzing to get free from the wrong knowledge, samshayadi. That adi word is a samshaya viparya. If we want to be in our knowledge or in our true self, vidyat anubhava prasiddham, the experience of the knower or the seek or the jnani. All of us are jnanis. That is why even though we are all having the permanency, experiential knowledge, which is not undergoing change, which is our swarupa, which is our true nature, yet we do not identify with that aspect. We identify with our physical body, mind, and etc. in the changing world and say that I do not know who I am. The one who is saying that I do not know who am I is using his own knowledge, which is unchanging, to say he doesn't know that. What can be the more error of judgment or more worse than this? That is why it is said praptasya prapti, which is already there. You are now feeling like, oh, this is that, like the necklace on the body or the spectacle on the head, or the 10th man being told that you are the 10th person, or when the Shastra says Tattvamasi, you are that. We are not able to identify ourselves as the knowledge because of our dependency on the Namarupa. Only when we are able to affirm that I am that pure knowledge, Prajnanam Brahma, I am Atma Brahma, that I am that consciousness, I am that awareness, I am that knowledge. When we identify with that, let the world and the objects, a million things keep on changing in front of us. We will be abiding in that knowledge. And that is the time when the waking, the dream, and the deep sleep, the sakshi, everything is in the knowledge of that pure self. Atma Swarupam. Nityam avinashi abhadyam satyam vidvad anubhava prasiddham. That aspect is what is being told here as viveka. And only when you have this viveka, vairāgya karanam, then only you can now affirm your knowledge on yourself, what you are, because you have to disassociate with everything that has been content of the knowledge and ascertain that we are that knowingness, awareness, consciousness, or whatever the name you want to call it. Once that becomes a firm conviction, right now you are that, but you have to get convinced that you are that. Tadattvamasi. You are that. Only then you say, I am that. That I am that has to become your experience. Soham. Chidananda Rupas Shivoham Shivoham. Chidananda means Chit Ananda Swarupa. That pure awareness which is, because there is no, na dvitiyam asti, na idaram antaram gurute tasya bhayam bhavati. So there is nothing other than that. Therefore it is bliss also. Only in the circumstances we can say that we know what is viveka. From next class onward, there are 3 words. Next class, Friday, I will take 3 of the shlokas are there. I don't know whether I should do all the 3 together, because I don't know whether I should explain it, each one of them very clearly. I think it's better to deal it as it comes. Where that Shama and Dhamma is given in the first verse, Uparati in Titiksha in the following verse, and Shraddha and Samadhanam in the 8th verse, 6th, 7th and 8th. That is the Shat Sampati which is being referred before we go to Mumukshutva. So once, if you are clear about Viveka, what are the things which will help us for this Viveka and vairāgya are the Shat Sampati, which we will discuss on Friday. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, Bindoji, very much for this deep dive into Viveka. The hand raising is open now, and the chat is also open. So we have another half an hour with Bindoji. If you have any questions, especially with regards to this class or Aparokshanubhuti, please raise your hands and join us on the stage. Bindoji, can I ask a question?
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, this is with reference to, you remember last time we talked in the open discussion about Prakriya and Viveka. So in this today's session, you talked about Drishya Viveka. And then there is this Nitya vastu Viveka. So is there a discerning aspect to that with reference to what is Viveka there and what is Prakriya there in those two contexts? Or is it kind of a seamless at that stage?
Well, see, the discernment is more into the aspects of how you are doing it. But what is to be anchored upon is on the nitya and anitya aspect of it. What is the permanent and the impermanent. Even in the Drik Drishya, the seen and the seer, the seen are changing, but the seer has not undergone any change. When we are talking about the same for the same seer only, it is the same object seen by multiple people, the multiple seers, you will say that is not the condition which we are talking about. I am the one who is experiencing. I am talking about my experience. So from that point of view, both are the same thing, but approached from two different aspects of it. One is the knowledge aspect as the seer, the known as the contents of the knowing as the seen. Then analyzing the aspects of the knowledge as well as that of the seen, that is the time when you will be able to say that the seer or the knowledge or the nature of the one who is seeing has never undergone any change, but the contents have undergone change. So this is the two different, apparently different aspects, but driving us to the same conclusion in both the routes. That is the time when we will be able to abide in ours.
Yes, thank you, Binduji. Namaste, Venkatji. Welcome to the stage.
Namaste, Prakash. Namaste, Binduji. Namaste, Artemisia. Binduji, we'll take care of this in a Dagdrishya Viveka, the three-way split that will happen for an activity like I'm painting. There's a painter and painting and process of painting, or you're seeing something. I'm seeing a beautiful scenery. You're seeing and process of seeing. The three-way splits, and even if you work backwards into the mind process, I'm thinking. There's a thinker, process of thinking, and a thought. As the one also, there is a way to look at continuity is this three-way split. As it happens, the thought process looks at the prior thought and give a certain way of continuity because the thought process is on. And that keep jumping. There's a hop happening from one to another thought. The thinker keeps seeing the prior thought and as if creating a continuity. Now, two clarities here. One is what is giving continuity versus what is happening in the in parts. That is the activity based. I put thinking also in the activity space. Activity based seer seen or thinker thought process. The discrete activities versus as the discernment is what is continuous, right? I think you used the word very profoundly. What is continuous? Because the time-bound scale of all this, time-bound space, all of this, what is continuous in this, even when the time, the perception of time is on, what is continuous, giving, something like, everything is connected. What is giving that connectedness across, irrespective thought is there or not there? Now, the discernment you are trying to put it is find what is that which is ever available. Then it gets to the aspect of simply knowing that exists irrespective of the activities going on. Now, when the activity is going on, is the knowing giving continuity? How do you discern straight up? I'm just putting the question up.
Yes, Venkat. Now, first and foremost, we have a feeling that there is an activity while knowing. It is, for example, when we say, I am seeing. So here I become the doer of the act of seeing, and the object is the one which is coming in contact with my act of seeing. So there are three aspects as you brought into the picture. the subject, the object, and the action between the subject and the object. This is what we think is happening in the process of knowing. Actually, knowing is not an activity at all. Even when we say the sun is shining the objects, for example, when we take it, is sun doing any activity to shine the objects, or does the objects, when it is in the presence of the sunlight, get enlightened? There is no activity in the sun to shine it. It is the nature of the light itself. The knowledge is similar. Knowledge is self-shining in nature. In the knowledge, when a content comes, the content is now in the knowledge. Just as when the earth rotates and the day dawns, the objects which are coming into the face of the sun becomes lit by the sun. Exactly like that, there is no activity in the sun to light the objects. There is no activity in the knowledge to know the things. Now, when you examine our experience of waking and dream, we are remaining the same one who was in the deep sleep, where we say, I knew nothing. It has not undergone any change. In that, when things appear, we call it as waking or dream. And when they vanish, we say, I knew nothing in my deep sleep. I have not doing any action. That is why I am akarta abhokta. Neither I am enjoying the waking and dream, nor I am, the one who is enlightening the things. They appear in my knowledge. That is why it is said that the world is an appearance. In this light, when we use the language has got its own limitations. In our knowledge light, in the light of knowledge, when things appear, we call it as waking or a dream. When they do not appear, we say, I knew nothing, I was in deep sleep. So, where is the activity which you say the third aspect of the subject and the object, and the connection is an activity of the subject and connecting to the object? That aspect, where is that? Did you understand that? Okay.
Yes, Binduji. I'm trying to now that language coming in the way of this whole description. I'm taking out this knowledge in the knowledge. Rather, I put it to internal experience. What is available is this knowing, pure knowing without any sensual requirement. That pure knowing is like you're pouring oil. That oil doesn't break. It doesn't break into pellets. That pure knowing is like, oil pouring like that. That's the closest I can describe it. In which either thought process doesn't matter. Now, putting that, what arises is that buddhi. Now try to put a shape to this viveka. Viveka is the buddhi that recognize this continuity, at the best. That's the most you can get. And then use it as a reference. That's the most I can think of, Binduji. Then nothing more, nothing less.
The viveka which is being told here is to bring clarity into our present understanding of knowing. In the present understanding of knowing, we are not making any discrimination between the permanent aspect and the changing aspects. But we think it as an act of knowing, where there is not even any action of knowing. Knowing is not an action.
Correct, Binduji.
So that is the viveka, where we are bringing that discrimination between the nitya and anitya. Because vastu swabhava we cannot change. The things will be remaining what it is. The Atma or Brahman is nitya. And the world, whether it is waking or dream, appear in that knowing, therefore we call it as anitya.
This is perfect, Binduji. This aspect you brought in, which is for me the most interesting, maybe the depth it brought in, is the superimposition of prior knowledge on the current experience. So it is so inherent and it is so quick. The familiar faces we see, and we continue the conversation with the imposition that I know the person, that memory is there, that got imposed, and then there's a continuity arising out of it. That superimposition giving rise to continuity is a very subtle aspect of it. That need to be taken out, number one. And you said the second part is how that vairāgya you talked about, even going to bring that aspect of identification, that strong identification also arise out of it due to superimposition. So there are two subtle aspects you brought in. That is the most interesting and uncovering. Thank you, Binduji. This was a bit very, very unique way you brought in. Thank you, Binduji.
Thank you, Venkat. In fact, we need to really delve deep into this analytical way of analyzing our experiences. That's what I always used to remember, and tell everyone that pratibodha viditam matam amrututve vindate. That pratibodha viditam in every experience, we are there as eternal. We have not undergone any change. We have always remained the same, even in the changing world. But what happens is that we are unable to identify ourselves to the changeless. Namaste, Rajendra.
Yeah, thank you, Binduji, and thank you also, Venkatji. Just amazing what you're trying to touch on and your questioning. And it's not a easy topic to grasp, I think. it's difficult to understand, if what we call knowing and potentially what is reasoning. And there's a dynamic twist there with the continuing of knowing, I don't know if knowing, it's amazing with such clarity, Binduji, you said, knowing is not an activity, it's not an action, but yet there's something happening, there's some reaction, there's that continuity, and I feel it could be reasoning. And what is even more interesting here is how, recently I've been looking at this a little deeper, and I saw in the Nyaya Vaiseka philosophy, yeah. So I don't know, this must be like 2,000 years ago, and they have this abhava types, and how you can make absence or integrate form of absence into knowing, through like ideas of like prior absence, destruction absence, mutual absence, absolute absence is like a pot before it was made, or the pot after it's broken. So I feel like there's one part which is knowing, which may be much closer like to just being and just, experiencing it. And then there's something else from knowing to knowledge, which requires this reasoning. And so this is why it's so difficult, because that's when we get into the ontological challenges, or ontological categories, but the presentation that you made earlier, it's so amazing. I mean, I've got to listen to it again, because you made such statements, and I think I have to go and breathe a little more to understand. So, thank you, and thank you to Venkatji. And if I have like a question, I think he would go around this reasoning part, or this if you want to speak to that. Thanks.
Yeah, Rajendra, when we say about reasoning or so many other aspects of our, intellectual activities, I would say, let us put all the intellectual activities. If you really look into the intellectual activities, it is all depending upon some verbal, ontological, or, informative things which we have already coined by word, and now we are moving them in a pattern to try to fix it. But what we are doing is not an activity of knowing. We are trying to place a puzzle in a pattern like any other contents coming into the knowledge gets lit. The aspect of the puzzle, when it is placed properly, we call it as, now it is reasoned properly. Now I understand it. The I understand it is what? If you really look into it, the contents of the knowledge which is moving, changing and everything has now got an order. Therefore you feel that it has become known to you. Now, for a simple example, put the Lego puzzle. And when the child completes it, it has got some shape in it. So that shape, we feel that is in relation with the content which we already know. Before that, the same things in a jumbled way was contents of the knowledge even then, but it did not become a palatable or a consumable knowledge to us, or we never felt comfortable with that. That is not the process of knowing we are talking about. That the aspect is not on the content at all. It is the sun and the light, thing which I told you. Just imagine the same thing. When we are in the deep sleep, when the contents are not there, we say that I knew nothing. There is that time when the content is not there, there is no reasoning, no experiencing, no knowing. Knowing is there, knowing of nothingness, but we say we know nothing. Because knowing is always in relation with something. Whether you call it as reasoning, logic, or assumption, whatever names you want to use in your language, you can use it. But it is all with something as content in it. But what Advaita is talking about is, there is this aspect of the self-luminous knowledge which can show you, or which can bring the contents in the knowledge. That time we call it as knowing it. But there is no activity per se. It is just the sun and the sunlight lighting everything what is in its vicinity. That's all. I hope, because words are limited, I have my own language problem, or even the issues, how best I can make it convincing or convey it is, I think, yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. That is what keeps coming to my mind. I cannot use words. I cannot have the, show it to you by experience in the mind also. So the only way is you have to look at who you are as the knowledge aspect. In your knowing, what is that aspect of you in every experience, every knowing, every contents of this thing. Contents are changing. There is something changeless. You say, I am changeless. But who is that I? That I is nothing but the knowledge aspect of it. There is no I other than knowledge. I hope I was able to convey it. Not confused.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's such a difficult. It's most beautiful that you said self-luminous knowledge, which makes me, just feel about emergence or arising. Oh, just thank you for that.
Thank you, Rajinder. Yes, Madhur, you're right. Self-luminously is known by itself is a contradiction. Yeah, my example I always say is that you cannot say it is luminous. Self-luminous means it can see it by itself. It is just like a sun alone in the sky without no planets. The sun cannot say I am luminous. That is the same case. Because there should be something to illumine. Then only it can be say it is something to be separate from that.
Binduji, that's a deduction by the mind, right, Binduji?
Yes, it's a reduction by the mind. Yes. Prakash, we can close the room. I'll take his question on the Friday.
Sure. Yeah. Again, heartfelt thanks to Bindoji for a deep, interpretation of viveka with reference to vairāgya in this class of Aparokshanubhuti. And thanks to Venkatji and Rajendraji for coming up and asking some questions pertaining to this. And as usual, Venkatji's questions takes us deeper into that space of discerning. So thank you. And thanks everyone for coming and attending this session. And the next session is on Friday at 8:30 IST. And as mentioned in the beginning of the class, the replays are available. So if you want to re-listen and do the Sravana Manana and come back for the 6th on Friday at 8:30 IST. And then following that Sunday, we'll have an open discussion where you can talk about either Aparokshanubhuti or any of the questions you have with reference to Advaita or something around that. So thank you everyone again, and over to Bindoji to close the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Prakash, Atmisha, Prasad, Venkat, Rajendra, and Ganesh Prasad. We'll meet again on Friday. Continue with the Aparokshanubhuti shlokas. Thank you all. Hari Om. Namaste.
Yeah,
Good night.
Namaste.